Okay, y'all, so here we go. I am going to start from scratch, like from the beginning, because y'all have a lot of questions and I'm gonna try to answer all of the questions all in this video. First question, did it work? Yes, it worked 100%. Was I disappointed? Yes, only because of what I was expecting versus what reality was. I know that everybody is different, everybody's body is different, and that's just, yeah. Wasn't what I was expecting, but it got the job done in quickly, okay? Very, very quickly, okay? So I'm gonna start off with that. Okay, so in the beginning. Okay, so if you watch my channel, you know that I have PCOS and I had trouble getting pregnant. I started this channel on my TTC journey with conceiving my baby. I had non-existing periods. I don't even want to say irregular because I would go sometimes like 90 days to 6 months without a period. Then when I was getting a period, I was having ovulatory cycles where I was having a period, I was having a full-blown cycle, but I was not ovulating. Then I began ovulating, but my follicles were not mature enough to be fertilized. So we corrected all of that good stuff right here on this channel, and I got pregnant. With that, I'm super excited and I'm super like happy to be pregnant, and nothing went as planned, like absolutely nothing. One thing I can say is that when I did get my periods, I had terrible cramps, and when I did start to ovulate, especially with the mature follicles, my ovulation was very, very painful. It was literally like someone was stabbing me in the cervix with a knife. So just keep that in mind for when I explain what the labor pain or non-pain or whatever felt like. Just hold that. I found that I was pregnant. Woohoo! Everybody was ecstatic and it was good. Life was good. I hit 6 weeks in one day and I got really, really sick. It wasn't just the normal morning sickness. It was literally all day, all night, no sleep. I couldn't keep water down or nothing. Got diagnosed with HG. If you do not know what HG is, it's basically being sick all the time your entire pregnancy. So once I got to like 12 weeks, I already was like over the pregnancy and I was just ready to be done with being pregnant, like super done. They had me on daytime medication and nighttime medication around the clock. I was on iron pills, which kept me constipated. So with me having HG, I lost 25 pounds during my pregnancy and I was super duper small. I was at the height of my depression and I didn't really like taking pictures. I didn't really like going outside. I didn't really like being around people because I felt like I was wearing what I was going through. Like I felt like people would look at me and automatically know all my business and see this pain and want to sympathize, and I just didn't want to be a pity party all the time. I was a loner. I lost 25 pounds, so I was super, super small. Here's some pictures that I have. At 20 weeks, I was super small. At 37 weeks, I felt like I was even smaller. Like for a 37-week pregnant woman, for a almost full-term baby, well, at 37 you're kind of like full-term still, but you know what I mean, full-term baby, I was small, super small. This is the day before I had her, literally 24 hours before I had her. This is how big I got my entire pregnancy. But anyway, yeah, that's how small I was. I could not sleep. You know, everybody already know about well, if you don't know, but during the second trimester, you have some insomnia. I was on medication to keep me from vomiting at night and during my sleep. It was like, you know, like a sleep aid. But with the insomnia and with the medication, stuff was just all out of whack. I would sometimes sleep, sometimes I wouldn't. It was just like, now the medicine isn't working for me. I don't want to keep taking it because I don't want to be dependent on it to the point where I can't sleep at all after this pregnancy without the medication. Like, it was a mess. But I literally had to sleep in the recliner. I couldn't lay the recliner all the way back. I had to sleep with the recliner sort of like this, but with the feet part up, sitting up just like this with the blanket over me in the recliner downstairs by myself in a chair. Because if I was to lay down, she would go up into my, all the way up in here to where I couldn't breathe. Like, I literally couldn't lay down because I could not breathe. I was suffocating. My baby was suffocating me from the inside. She was so high. I have a introverted uterus. So usually people's uterus is like this and a little fallopian tube here. My uterus lays backward like this. So however that works, my baby grew upward up in here instead of like usually like down like everybody else. So my stomach was super flat. I could barely feel her in the beginning, but after she got big, like around 25 weeks or whatever, I start, you know, really being able to feel her kicks and stuff like that. But she was kicking my ribs because she was all the way up here, like in my lungs. I had trouble breathing, sleeping. I couldn't lay back, I couldn't lay down. It was just terrible. Like, I just was so over the pregnancy, just so over it. But yeah, I was super small. I couldn't eat. Anytime I would put food literally in my mouth, it would either come back up or it'll get stuck right here, because I believe from me not eating for so long, my stomach shrunk. And on top of the fact that I was so constipated and backed up, it just felt like everything was just congested, and like I would swallow it and it felt like it wouldn't move from here. It's not coming out this end. It would either come out this end or just get stuck like right here. I was hospitalized a few times for iron and low fluids. I started getting Braxton Hicks at 14 weeks because I was always really dehydrated. When you're dehydrated, it triggers something in your body to give you Braxton Hicks. So I always got them. They were normal for me. They gave me a count. If I got, I think it was like 20 in, if I got 20 Braxton Hicks in like an hour, then I would have to go to the hospital. I will go to the hospital, they would check me to make sure I'm not in preterm labor, and then they would give me fluids or whatever else to kind of like calm them down a little bit, because they didn't want me to go into preterm labor. So that was pregnancy for me. Pregnancy was very depressing. I was very sick. I was so sick that I was miserable. I was miserable. I was lonely. I was depressed. It was freaking horrible. Like, I really feel like I have PTSD from my pregnancy. It was terrible. That was that. So once I got further towards the end of my pregnancy, I was doing so much research. If you know me, you know that I am studying to be a midwife. I am a doula to some, birth some, helpful to all. I'm that go-to person. But within my own pregnancy and being my own pregnancy coach, I was horrible. Okay, it was horrible. I just didn't want to be pregnant, but whatever. I did all my research. I started eating dates at 30 weeks. I was just ready to have this baby. I'm like, whatever it's going to take to get this baby out when this baby is supposed to come. I didn't want to go in early. I didn't want to have her early, but I just wanted to make sure that it was a smooth process when it was time. So I started eating my dates at 30 weeks. At 36 weeks, I started taking evening primrose oil, both orally and vaginally. I was like, yeah, we're going to get this baby out. Raspberry leaf tea, everything. Okay. So I was prepping my body for this time. So because I've did so much prep and from others people's experience of the Midwives Brew, I thought this is what I expected, and this is why I was disappointed. When you expect, it leaves room for disappointment. Okay, so I thought that my baby was going to be born on 11/11/18. I took, well, the night before, I went to my little cousin's sweet 16 birthday party. I was actually able to eat without throwing up. It was awesome. I had the biggest plate ever. Okay, I was just like shoveling in food. I think my body was kind of like, all right, get all the, you know, food and nutrients you can get now because you're about to go in labor soon. So I'm shoveling all this food down, didn't get sick, nothing came back up. I'm like, oh, this is nice. I danced all night. Like, I literally was on my feet all night. Okay, all night. I just kept dancing. I wanted to make sure that I was bringing her down far enough so that when I, you know, induced myself the next day, it was going to be smooth sailing. So what I was expecting was for me to mix this drink, for me to drink it at 3 p.m. I was going to have a baby by no later than 7, maybe I'll even push it to 9 p.m. No, it did not work out like that at all. Okay, so this is a backstory real quick, just to explain why my expectations for the Midwives Brew was so high. Okay, so I was my sister's doula. We went, got all the ingredients for the Midwives Brew. She was 2 days over her due date, so her son was 2 days overdue. We went, we got all the ingredients for the Midwives Brew. We decided that my house was closer to the birthing center because we know that this stuff works fast. We just want to be, you know, prepared. We had all the bags packed. We were ready. Okay, so basically she took the brew within 20 minutes. Her water broke. Right after her water broke, she got 1 contraction, 2 contractions, and on the 3rd contraction, she started having the baby. 2 pushes, baby was out. It happened so fast, we had no time. That's why my expectations for this Midwife Brew was so dang high, okay? So I drank the Midwives Brew. I have a video on it. You can go back and look, but I'm just going to explain the motions of this, okay? So I'm used to having these Braxton Hicks all the time from 12 weeks in my pregnancy. So I'm having these Braxton Hicks and I'm trying to explain to the camera how they feel. Now, my face probably told a lot, but it literally was like my Braxton Hicks like turned up a notch, which felt like my normal period cramps mixed with the ovulation pain at the same dang time. So I took the Midwives Brew at 3 o'clock. By 7 o'clock, nothing was really happening. I was getting these Braxton Hicks. I was running to the bathroom, whatever. I was glad that I was running to the bathroom because I had been constipated my entire pregnancy. Going to the bathroom did not bother me at all. I actually was kind of happy because that wasn't a privilege that I got. So I'm happy that I'm running to the bathroom, but I'm not happy that these contractions are not kicking it up a notch. Like, why are we not on our way to the birth center? They were pretty much like between 5 and 3 minutes apart, but not an alarming 3 minutes apart to the point where it's like, all right, let's go. They were really like super chill. Now let me just say this. I have a really high tolerance for pain. So what actually was labor, I didn't know it was labor. I just thought that it was Braxton Hicks just kicked up a notch. 9 o'clock rolls around and I'm kind of aggravated because I'm expecting to be hollering and screaming like the people on TV. All it. That's what I was expecting for this labor thing. So I'm thinking that I'm not in labor because it just wasn't like that, like at all. Like the contractions were a breeze. So I'm like, this is not giving what it was supposed to have gave. I think that this mess ain't working. I drink this nasty crap for nothing. I was upset. How come it works for everybody else? It doesn't work for me. So my dumb behind goes and lays down on the couch and I falls asleep. My husband doesn't wake me up to put me in bed or anything. I literally laid there on the couch. Woke up at 5 a.m. to a very, very sharp, strong contraction. I vlogged a little bit of that too. So I woke up to this contraction and I'm like, okay, so I guess it's finally kicking in after like all these dang hours. Like it's like been 12 hours plus. I took it at 3 p.m. yesterday and now it's 5 a.m. the next morning and I'm just now getting contractions, not knowing that I was in labor the entire time. So anyway, so I get up, I get on the birthing ball a little bit. I'm like trying to move around to try to feel something stronger. Again, I was expecting to be hollering and screaming, to be like acting like a fool, in pain for real labor. Never happened. So finally, I wake up my husband like, look, I think it's happening. He like, now? I'm like, yeah, now. Like, he like, but I gotta go to work. I'm like, you can't go to work because we have to go have the baby. He was upset that he could not go to work. So I called my mom. My mom came and got us. And we put everything in the car seat, baby bag, overnight bag, hospital bag, whatever you want to call it. We all get in the car and we drive to the birth center. So now it's like 6:30. I'm at the birth center. So they checked me in. They put me in my suite. At the birth center, it's like you have a personal suite. It kind of is set up like a home bedroom. It has like a rocking chair. It has like a crib and stuff in there, but it feels and looks more like home than it does a hospital. I have my own personal bathroom with a jacuzzi tub. Like it's like top notch. So I get in there, I take my shoes off, and the midwife on call was just kind of like, okay, so you're in labor? I'm like, yeah, I'm in labor. At this point, I was feeling her so low that I felt like I couldn't bend my body in half. You know how your legs and your body, it's usually like a 90-degree angle when you're sitting. I felt like if I sat like that, I was going to snap her neck in half. Like that's how low she felt. So I was more so kind of like leaning back, trying to like straighten my body out as much as possible because I felt like I was going to snap her neck. Like she just felt like that low down into the birth canal. So with that and with the consistent contractions, I'm like, yeah, I'm in labor. I'm like, I'm actually having one right now. So she's feeling my stomach and she's feeling it and tightening it up. But she's looking at me and my demeanor and basically like, are you sure you're in labor? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, well, you know, this is your first baby. It could be a false alarm. Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm in labor. I'm definitely in labor. I'm this calm, whatever. She's like, okay, I can check you. Okay, check me. She checks me. She says that I'm 2 centimeters, 75% effaced. But I'm not in labor. I said, ma'am, 75% effaced? She said, yes. I said, but only 2 centimeters. She said, yes. I said, are you sure? She said, yes. I said, well, why does it feel like I'm going to snap my baby's neck? Like she's literally like almost hanging out of me. Like that's how low she felt. She said, oh no, this is your first baby. You probably have about 24 to 48 hours to go. Usually it's a long process when it's your first baby. Go home, relax. As soon as she said 24 to 48 hours, my husband lost it. You mean to tell me I could have went to work today? Yada, yada, yada. So now he's like pissed. I'm trying to convince him. I'm trying to convince my mom. And I'm trying to convince my midwife that I'm in labor. Nobody wants to hear me out. So after like going back and forth with her for a good 5 minutes, she's like, well, won't you just go and walk around a little bit? You know, go for a couple hours or whatever. And if you're still feeling this way, you know, we'll have your room still here for you. You can just come back. but you might need to move around a little bit. It's no point in just sitting here all day when you can be, you know, laboring at home or walking around trying to get the baby to come down some. And I'm just like, there might not be any more coming down that this baby needs to do, because she's literally like, I feel it, like I know what I feel. She wasn't convinced. So my mom like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. She's like, drop me off at work and you guys go to the mall and walk around. I'm like, Mom, it's 6:45 a.m. The mall does not open no time soon. Like, what? So we drop her off at work and we decided that Target opens at 7. Target open, so we go there and I'm like walking around Target. At this point though, the contractions are turned up a notch, and it's because I'm moving around at this point. I'm kind of like holding on to shelves and racks, and my husband is kind of like just off, just walking away from me. He's pissed. He's on the phone with his crew at work. He's a contractor, so he kind of like had to give his guys the assignment at work since he wasn't going to be there. So he's kind of like pissed with me, but like over there like giving them instructions and doing whatever he's doing on the phone for work. And I'm like literally like holding on to shelves and stuff. But at this point, I'm still not screaming. It's painful, of course, but it's not like, you know, what I was expecting. I just wanted to sit the heck down. I knew I had to walk around and move around because like I needed the baby to come down, but I just wanted to sit down. Like I didn't want to do any of this. He didn't piss me off. The lady at the birthing center pissed me off, not believing me. I was just ready to go. So he like, well, whatever. Still frustrated. Well, whatever. We'll just go home then. All right, let's just go home then. So we get back in the car. So at this point, I had the seat in the car all the way pushed all the way back, and I'm just like, sit up in a chair like this. Like, just hurry up and just get me home. So he's in the car, he's still upset, he's trying to argue, and I'm like, seriously, just not right now. Now at this point, the pain is kind of like a, let's say a 7. Okay, they're still coming kind of like 3 minutes apart, but it's like a 7. You know that when you're in pain, like if you have like a migraine or something like that, you just don't want nobody talking to you. Like, just be quiet. That's how I was feeling. And the fact that he was irritating me and like trying to argue or whatever, I was just irritated. Like, just irritated. So I got home. I'm like, well, let me just get in the shower and try to relax. Maybe the lady was right. Maybe it'll just go away. Maybe, you know, I'm just riled up, so that's why I'm having these really strong Braxton Hicks, whatever. I felt like they were contractions. Nobody else felt like they were contractions. So I'm like, whatever. Took a little quick 10-minute shower. I got out the shower, so I have my robe on. And I go downstairs and I get in my trusty old recliner. So I'm laid back. Not laid all the way back, because remember that, yeah. I got my feet up and I'm kind of laid back and I'm kind of like this, and I'm like, you know, for some reason, I don't know why, but my little brother was at my house. He's sitting in front of the TV and he's playing the Xbox. He's like playing the game. I'm not paying him no mind. He's not bothering me. I'm not bothering him. We're in our own little world, minding our business. I'm sitting in the chair, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just go to sleep. Like, that's how I am with pain. Like, if the pain is annoying me, I'm gonna just go to sleep and just not think about it and just whatever. So I'm laying there and I'm kind of like taking like this 3-minute nap in between contractions. But now I specifically remember that I woke up for a contraction. I still have my eyes closed. I woke up for a contraction. And I'm like, okay, you can kind of feel the contraction heighten, and then you can feel when it's coming back down, releasing. It came back down, but then immediately went back up. So now I'm like, I'm aggravated. I'm like, I didn't get to get my 3-minute nap real quick. Like, what's going on? So I was so happy. I'm just like, let me time it. So I'm looking at the clock, waiting for this next contraction to go back down to see how much time will be in between for the next one to come. And the contraction never went away. So I'm just like, with all my knowledge of labor, all my knowledge of delivery, all my everything, how am I at this point? I know that when you have those type of contractions, so where there's no break in between, you're more than halfway through active labor. All I can say in my head was, oh shit, how did I let this happen? Without panicking, I had to literally roll out of the chair because, again, I couldn't bend, like I couldn't sit up to get up normally. So I'm laying back in the recliner. So I had to roll over this way so that I had hands and feet on the floor like I'm about to do a push-up. And all I can say was, help. I said it just like that, help. So I remember look over and he like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is the only way I can get out of the chair. He like, why didn't you just ask me to help you? I'm like, So I'm like, can you help me get up? Like, I need to stand up. He like, okay. So I get up and I stand up and something just tells me to reach down. Like there's something rubbery, like on my leg, like on my inner thigh. So I look down and I touch and there's a water balloon, probably about this big, hanging out of my crotch. It's my water bag. My water hadn't broken at this point. My water bag was hanging out. But again, from my knowledge and from experience of going through this with other people, I know immediately the second that my water breaks, a baby is going to come flying out in record time. So now I have to get into this mode of I'm delivering this baby now, right here, right now. I go into like the mode. So I go upstairs really slow. I'm kind of like holding it, but I don't want to touch it too hard because it's like a very delicate situation right now. If this bag pops, there will be a baby. I do not want to have my baby in the middle of the staircase. So I'm climbing the stairs very carefully, holding on to this sack, touching it without touching it, if that makes sense. I get in the bathroom, I climb into the tub, and I yell for my husband. He's still irritated. Whatever. What? What's the problem now? I said, we're about to have a baby. Can you go get me some towels? And can you call an ambulance? He like, what? What are you talking about? I said, calm down. But the baby will be here any minute. And I'm talking just like this. So he like, what? What are you talking about? So I had to show him. I said, do you see this? He like, oh my God, her head is hanging out. Oh my God. I'm like, calm down. It's not her head. It's just my water bag. But if this water bag breaks, the baby is going to come out. I said, we do not have time to get to the birth center. We do not have time to get into the hospital. We don't have time for anything. Just get the towels and just come, like, help me. Just stand here and just, I didn't even know what I wanted him to do. I just needed somebody to be a witness so that if I, like, fell and bust my head wide open while this was happening, I had, like, some type of whatever. I don't know. I just knew that this was happening now and that I had to do it on my own, but I wanted somebody in there with me. And he was the designated person at this point. Mind you, we had prepped. We had a solid birth plan. My husband even went out and bought like the scrub set. Being so we weren't delivering at the hospital, we weren't going to have all of those hospital medical grade type stuff. We were having a birth center birth. They have medical equipment, but he wanted like the surgical gown and he wanted to deliver his own baby. This was our plan, that he was going to accompany the midwife in delivering his daughter. That was our birth plan. But now that it was happening and there wasn't no OB or no midwife standing alongside of him, he like, what? I ain't doing this, ain't happening. He immediately says, no, we're going to get there. I'm going to get you there. With my contractions, I could not talk. It was one of those type of pains where, you know how you like hit your shin on the side of the bed or hit your ankle on something, and it's like that kind of pain where you just, and you have to like hold your breath to kind of just like get through it. Like you can't scream because it's just that type of pain where you just can't do much of anything besides just hold it, and then after about a couple of minutes you got to check to see if it's bleeding because it feel like it should be bleeding. It was like one of those type of pains, but it would come and it would go. It wasn't that bad to me, like, but still I was expecting to be screaming and hollering, sweating and panting and none of that. But I do understand why they tell you to breathe, because when the height of that contraction comes, your mental kind of tells you to hold your breath. Okay, so now he puts on a hoodie. You know, those hoodies that has like the fleece or like the fur on the inside. Puts me in one of them. Mind you, I'm coming from the shower, so I'm completely naked. He grabs a throw blanket from off of my bed and wraps the throw blanket around my waist. He's dragging me down the steps by my hand at this point, like, come on, hurry up. Like, he's like freaking out. We have to get you there. We're going to get there. I promise. The ambulance won't get here faster than I can get you there. Like, he's like 100% cool mode. I'm like, okay, whatever. So again, I get in the car. I'm kind of like laying back how it was before. But this time, the pressure is on. Now, let me explain the pressure. It kind of feels like you have to poop. But it's like one of those poops, like when you wait too long and your body just decides for you. Like, I don't care if you're near a toilet. It's happening right now kind of thing. Let me see if I can explain it a little bit better. Have you ever been sick and been like throwing up and you have nothing on your stomach? So you're like dry heaving, but you can't stop it. That's what it was like. No matter how much I didn't want to push, my body was doing it anyway. And the more I tried to fight against it, the worse it was just making the whole experience. I started feeling lightheaded because I'm like squeezing so hard. I felt like I was going to have like an aneurysm. I'm just like, I cannot hold this no more. Whatever. I'm like, my body is pushing. I'm not going to push with it, but I'm just going to let it do its thing. Like, whatever. So at this point, he is flying. And all I keep saying to him is do not hit a bump. Because if you pop this water bag, there will be a baby on the dashboard. So he's like, okay, full speed. And you know how you like dodge a pothole, whatever. We live in Philly, so there's potholes everywhere. You know how you try to like dodge a pothole and you kind of do one of those? Yeah, doing that the whole way. So I'm in the car. My butt is literally off the seat. Because I'm like this. I'm trying not to let this water sac that's hanging out pop. I'm trying to protect it from touching anything, from touching it, from it popping. It was like I was literally taking care of a really delicate baby bird egg at this point. It was crazy. But at the same time, I'm having these really intense contractions that are literally probably like 30 seconds apart at this point. And my body is pushing and I'm trying not to push, and I'm protecting the bag and I'm trying not to push, and she's crowning and I'm trying not to push. It was crazy. But the whole time in the car, he's dodging potholes. It was insane. We got to the birth center in record time, but at this point, she is literally crowning. I believe that she was up to like her eyebrows hanging out of me. The way I'm explaining it, it might seem like a long time had passed, but it had not. It just sounds that way. So we get there. He jumps out of the car. He has the car seat, the baby bag, my bag. The way the birth center is set up is you go through the entrance door. On the left side, there's an elevator to go upstairs to the midwife's doctor's office where you will go for your prenatal visits or whatever. And on the right side, there's a locked door that you have to be buzzed into to get to the birthing suites. So he goes in, and now I'm sitting in the car trying not to push, literally panting at this point, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. My baby is hanging out. I'm still in this car. I'm thinking that he went to go get the doctor, to bring the doctor, well, the midwife, back to the car to finish this process, because I'm full-blown delivering head at this point. He comes back to the car talking about, what are you doing? Why are you still sitting here? Because I need help getting out the car. I thought you went to get the midwife. He like, no, I was holding the door for you. Whatever. He helps me get out the car. Mind you, I'm completely naked and I have a throw blanket around my waist. Inside of the slit of the throw blanket, I have my hand holding on to my baby's head and the rest of this water bag that is now hanging out of me. I waddle slowly because I don't want the bag to burst to the door. When I get to the door, some lady is just now opening the door. She says, oh no ma'am, you have to get on the elevator and go upstairs for your prenatal appointment. The only thing I could get out at that point was, I'm pushing. She said, what? I said, I'm pushing. She said, oh no, you don't have to do that. Just hit the button on the elevator. What? I'm pushing. She said, pushing what? A baby. This goes back to the fact that I didn't look very much pregnant. So I'm guessing she thought that I was probably like 4 or 5 months here for a prenatal appointment. And I don't know. So at this point, I dropped the blanket so she can clearly see like what the hell is going on. I feel my next contraction building up and I'm letting her know, ma'am, I'm delivering. She said, oh my God, the 2 midwives on call are in other active deliveries right now. Like, there's nobody here to help you. I said, okay, just go get me some towels and I'll just handle my business. She's like, oh, come in, just come in. There's one open room, somebody just left. So I'm like, okay. I get in that birthing suite. There is no sheets on the bed. Nothing is stopped. You can literally tell that somebody like literally was just like stripping the room down from somebody leaving. I can't even lay down on the bed and finish this process that I'm clearly going through right now. So I look at that, and now I'm at the height of the contraction. So now her head is fully out. And as soon as it gets to her chin, my water breaks. So once the baby head comes out, the baby head rotates. She rotates, so now I'm looking at the side of her face. Like I'm literally like looking down, like looking at the side of her face. She opens her eyes and kind of cuts her eyes at me. My husband is freaking out, okay? He's like, oh my God, hold on. Let me get my gloves. The other lady is over there. She's on the phone. I don't know who the hell she's calling. She's not putting the sheets on the bed like I thought that she was supposed to be doing or whatever. Come to find out, she was the janitor. I'm looking at the baby looking at me, and we both just looking like. So he's like fiddling, doing whatever he's doing. So I'm like, I can feel the next contraction building up at this point. I'm like, you gotta be faster than that. You gotta be faster than that. He's like fiddling with the glove, trying to get the glove. I'm like, whatever you're doing, just hurry up because she's coming out right now, like right now. I feel the contraction heightening. So I'm like, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. And I think that I was very, very calm. But me saying those things was kind of like easing the pain. Like I was kind of like talking like myself out of the pain of it, I guess. Because, yeah. I'm like, she's coming, she's coming, she's coming. Shoulders started coming, shoulders coming. I'm like, you gotta be faster than that, you gotta be faster than that. And in that moment, I just felt like, okay, so once her shoulders, and then it kind of like start, once the rest of the, I'm trying to explain it, just bear with me. I feel her sliding out of me, but I feel myself closing back up because the rest of her body is a lot smaller than the head and the shoulders at this point. So I'm like, it was like a slow motion type thing. I knew at that moment that my baby hit the floor and she was dead. That's all I was thinking. Like, you know how something scary is happening, you just shut your eyes and you just like, oh shit type of thing, like, oh shit. I hear her cry. And I'm like, oh, fuck my baby. I look down and there are 2 white hands holding my baby, no gloves. So I know it's not him. The janitor was black, so I know it's not her. Who is this savior guardian angel holding my baby? I look over and it's a lady. She looked like Victoria Beckham with this cute ass bob, and she's smiling at me and she says, congratulations mama, you just delivered your own baby. I had to look down again because I just knew that when I looked down the first time that it was just going to be like a bloody massacre. Like, I just knew that everything just had went to shit at that point. She's like, everything is going to be okay. We're going to sit you down on the birthing stool until we can get something down on the bed. And she's just like talking to me real calm, and I'm just stuck in awe. Like, so she hands me the baby, so I put her up on me. But as I'm putting her up on me, I can feel tugging from my placenta. My daughter's cord was so short that even if that lady wouldn't have caught her, either her falling would have snatched my placenta out and I probably would have bled to death, or my baby would have been dangling from her cord. Her cord was super short. So I'm holding her and they finally get the sheets on the bed. I finally get to lay down and they're like, okay, push, you have to deliver the placenta. Okay. But at this point, you start coming down off of that natural high. I'm like, why is this painful to deliver the placenta? But it wasn't that painful delivering the baby. Like, I didn't feel the ring of fire. I didn't feel none of that stuff that everybody is talking about. And I think it's just because of everything that was going on. I was trying so hard to keep myself calm, but my adrenaline still was running. Like, I think it was just like the hypeness of everything that was going on that I just didn't feel that much pain. But once I started like relaxing a little bit, like, all right, she here now, and they like delivering the placenta, and she's like checking me, and she's like touching this and touching that. I'm like, ma'am, like, whoa, what you doing? Don't do that. She like, oh no, I'm just checking to see if you have any tears or anything. I'm like, listen, whatever is going on down here, we can wait about 5, 10, 30, 2 hours to fix it. Just leave it alone. Just don't touch it. So that was that. And she's like, oh no, it's fine. You don't have any tears. You delivered her perfectly. I figured with her coming so fast that you would have torn, but no, you're good. So I'm like, okay. So they gave me a couple receiving blankets. Me and my baby's doing skin to skin. I'm trying to get her to latch. They have like these red warming lights over top of the bed. So they turn the warming lights on. Me and my baby all snuggled up. The midwife walks in the room. She says, oh, I thought I was walking into a delivery. You delivered already. So she has like her clipboard with the stuff that she's supposed to fill out. She's like, oh, okay, so who can I put down here as to who delivered you? So my saving grace over here, I don't even know that woman's name. I feel so bad. I don't even remember her name. But she was like, she delivered her own baby. You can put her name down on it. So the midwife is kind of like, oh, okay. She was like, time of birth, saving grace over here is like 12:25. So she wrote down 12:25. She said, oh, that's funny. She said, because the lady over here delivered at 12:37. So pretty much I came in already head damn near out, and I had my baby before the other two women that they pretty much ditched me for. That made me even more pissed. Like, so you could have, like, you had a whole like 12 minutes to deliver my baby and then run over to help her. It was crazy. She was like, oh, so now she's asking me all these questions. I'm like, miss, I don't feel like answering no questions right now. Like, I'm just hungry and I'm just like over this whole situation. Like, you can go for real. Like, your job is done. Like, that's how I was. She's still asking me a whole bunch of questions. How did you feel? This, that, and the third. Do you have to use the bathroom? Yada, 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 yada. But at this point as well, everybody is showing up. I don't know. Well, later I figured out how everybody knew that this was happening because I didn't have time to call anybody. My mom got somebody. Remember, we were supposed to go back and pick my mom up before we got back to the birth center, but we just didn't have time to do that. My mom had to get one of her co-workers to bring her back to the birth center. My best friend, her husband, and her baby showed up. And my dad and my grandmom showed up. Like, they all literally showed up like 10 to 15 minutes after she was out, and everybody's now in the room. So mind you, I still have my nipple rings, and I never took my nipple rings out during my pregnancy. Like, they were in there the entire time. So at this time, I'm like taking it out. I'm trying to ask the nurse quietly, like, does she have something for me to put them in? Can I have some alcohol swabs to like clean everything off to get her latched on? I'm trying to like discreetly take care of my nipple issues while everybody else is in the room asking a bunch of freaking questions. My husband is like telling the story. And I did not realize that this entire time when he was fiddling, trying to get himself together while my baby was hanging out, he was setting up Facebook Live. So basically I delivered on Facebook Live without even knowing. So everybody knew I had the baby before I even freaking registered that I had the baby. Like, it was nuts, okay? Complete freaking nuts. So I get that whole thing situated, and I'm having this moment where I'm realizing that my nipple rings are really gone, because once she latched on and got whatever she was going to get, and I went to go switch her to the other side, I realized that I cannot put that back in. Like, my nipple was so swollen that I would not have been able to get it in. I know some moms that are able to just take it out for each feed and just put it back in. That's what I was expecting to be able to do. But no, it was a totally, completely different situation. I really didn't have, I'm trying to do this with a receiving blanket over me so nobody else is like seeing what's going on. I can't, like, you know, I just didn't have the proper privacy. I didn't have the proper like positioning or anything to like do what I needed to do. So I'm like having like this mini internal freak out moment that nobody else knows about, and everybody's just so joyful and everything going on. It was crazy. It was crazy. But all in all, she was here. She was healthy. She was super small. She looked so small. I don't know if she had like a lot of water weight, but she came down a lot. She was 6 pounds 2 ounces when she was born, but she just looked so freaking tiny, like such a peanut. She was so small. Right after I delivered, they're like, okay, so you have to use the bathroom. Now, this part right here, I can say was worse than the entire labor, the entire delivery, the entire everything. So I'm like, okay, we get in the bathroom and I start to pee. When I tell you that it felt like the deepest, darkest pit of hell, scorching, it was freaking terrible. That first pee after delivering a baby vaginally, no epidural, no morphine, no Tylenol, no nothing. It was freaking terrible. And remind you, this is your first pee after not having anything resting on your bladder. So it's just like free flowing, and I'm just like, mind you, right outside of the bathroom door, there's family there. So I'm trying not to scream. I know that my nurse is right outside of the door, and she kind of like peeking her head and like, is everything okay? I'm like, no, like, ah. She's like, I know, I'm gonna get you some ice packs. Like, we're trying to like have this whisper conversation through the door. Like, it was just so crazy. Okay, so after that, I go back and I sit down. So I'm talking to her now. I'm like, you know, she's calming me down. She's like, you know, I can get you some Tylenol, Motrin, you know, whatever you need for the pain. She's like, I want you to spend some time with your baby before the they have like a pediatric doctor that comes in and check the baby out right there at the birth center. They come from, there's a hospital across the street from the birthing center. They come from right over there and come right over to check the baby out. She's like, yeah, he's gonna come in about an hour or two to check the baby out or whatever, you know, sit back, relax, skin to skin, you know, bond with your baby. She's like, you have a lot of family here. If any moment you want them to leave, I can have them go sit out. They have like a living room, TV, dining room, kitchen, full-blown everything, like a house for the family to congregate at for privacy for the mother during whatever time she needs. And I'm just like, no, it's fine. I'm just already irritated that they're already in there. Like, it wasn't nobody like really like facilitating on the back end like with any of it. It just was, everybody was just doing whatever. It was crazy. So I'm just like, you know, talking to the nurse. I said, well, what happened? Like, how did you get here? Like, I just looked down and I just seen that you caught my baby. She said, oh no, the janitor lady, she called across the street. She said, I'm a triage nurse in the emergency room. She said, I'm not actually even supposed to be over here. Like, I just got the call. She called into the emergency department and was asking for an ambulance to come over and get you because there was nobody here to deliver your baby. But she described that the baby head was out, and I knew that it was, I can run over here faster than you can get to us. So she basically ran from across the street, and she was just like, as soon as I got in here, there wasn't nothing I can do. Like, I literally seen the baby falling and I just called her. I'm like, thank God for you, because my baby would have hit the floor. She said, yes, I know. And she just was like, that would have been a very, very, very sad situation. And yeah, so I really, really thank God for her. I wish I could have gotten her name and all of her information and sent her a gift or something, because she definitely needed it. Like, she was awesome. And she pretty much stayed with me for a little while after I delivered the baby. She helped me, you know, get into clean clothes, because I was naked when I showed up. She helped me get into clean clothes. She was like, if you want to take a shower, I can help you out with the shower, whatever. We pretty much dismissed the midwife and the nurses that were provided for me during that time, because they were like, she was just over them. Like, you can go, I'll take care of her and we'll let you know when, you know, whatever. So she took care of me. She made sure I got my shower, clean clothes. Family went and got me some food, and she was like, okay, I'm leaving now, you know, the nurse on call, whatever, is going to help you from here on out, yada yada yada. So yeah, they came in and they did their routine checkup on her, did her footprints, weight, height, head circumference, all of that good jazz. And it was good after that. It was really, really good after that. The postpartum experience, though, is going to have to be a whole nother video, because after I took her home, we ended up back in the hospital again. So that'll be a video after this one. I hope that you enjoyed my labor and delivery story. I hope that you understand everything that was going on. It was kind of hectic. I know that sometimes I like go off the wall with my explanations and my references of this stuff, but yeah, that was it. It was crazy. I almost had that little girl in the car. And how crazy and how hectic her birth was, that is her personality. I can't wait till you guys meet her. That'll be coming out right after this, meeting the little strawberry. So yeah, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. We're gonna have lots of vlogs now and mommy stuff going on this channel. No more TTC for me. I've had enough. Thank you guys. Bye. See you soon.